you. And last but not the least, I think I've kept one of the best speakers for the end. I'm pleased to introduce Ambica. Ambica is the Director for Human Capital and Special Initiatives at Antara Senior Living, Max India Group. She has over 15 years of extensive experience partnering with leadership teams to analyze, determine, and implement HR solutions, focusing on achieving business results. She is an alumnus of Institute of Technology and Management and Indian School of Business. So, Ankita, you have been leading a team of COVID warriors. So, what, according to you, are the key challenges and learnings from macro level in the organization and the business impacts on it? And the second part of it is what kind of succession planning is being adopted by the organization, and what things have you done, what innovations have you done in your organizations about that? Over to you, Ambika.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Thank you for a very, elaborate introduction. Very happy to be here with all these panel members. Very interesting conversation. Ankita, you touched few points so beautifully well, which I would have spoken about myself. But I think a lot of challenges today on the healthcare organization was touched upon by Mr. Garg. I think very clearly so. And I'm just going to summarize to our context. We as an organization not only are in the healthcare, but as people we serve are the most fragile and sensitive segment of our population. We take care of seniors. The difference between the first wave and the second wave in terms of just the challenges was the front line wasn't so much of a challenge. I think this time as an organization and the challenge was for largely the supervisory level. So while the frontline was used to or could understand what exactly needs to be done and could rise up to occasion, just the number of unfulfilled demand which was there in the market and our going ahead in the whole idea of augmenting capacity actually had a whole big pressure on the supervisory there. And that was something which we sort of realized when we only went on to, handling the second wave. So with that, and few other challenges, I largely want to talk about, few of the lessons which we as an organization learned while handling the second wave and seeing what we could do effectively. Yeah, one, of course, was there's nothing called over planning, honestly, right? All of us as an organization did face COVID first wave. So we knew what to expect. However, most of us were caught unaware in things like resource planning, building for contingency, digital experience for our customer and for our employees. So I think that was point number one, as there is nothing called over planning when it comes to these kind of pandemic sort of situations. The second learning which we had as an organization was this, again, there's nothing called over investing in technology. We hear this too many times, too small, too young, not the priority, let's create the scale, then get the technology in. And I think at least the second wave taught us that if we can't seamlessly shift to digital experience in product creation and customer acquisition and employee experience, some of the organization would be rooted out very quickly. So that bit of learning from a business perspective as well as the employee experience perspective is something which we sort of experienced. The third thing was, and that was actually relating to the point of planning too, that we heard a lot about creating resilient organization, creating organization where people feel safe to come, mental health is important, etc. in wave one. I think what some of the organization couldn't do, or most of the organization couldn't do very well, was to break this words down into simple business processes and people's policy. Yeah. So what does it mean to create a resilient organization? Does it mean, and to your point, Sakshi, that could we create another layer of decision makers? Could we create task groups in case a few of our team members, a few of the leadership members are unable to perform the responsibilities? Could we create a contingent task force to take care of those, right? So there's nothing called this breaking down these big words into small steps is again something which we sort of learned very well in this experience. this whole this whole experience also taught us, at least taught our organization, that plan B and plan C, needs to be as robust and as clear and understood as plan A. Yeah. Uh, we suddenly, from a home healthcare players serving seniors, right, started replacing the need of unfulfilled need of a hospital. Uh, that was never an aspiration. We were not replacing or not in direct competition with hospitals, and was not trying to pick their unfulfilled supply. But we realized that probably we could step in and do that, right? So from fourth learning was that, while can be costly, while this can be confusing, but episodes such as these are here to stay. And while some of the CEOs did pivot their business strategies to the reality, just the time taken in executing it, explaining it, crafting it was really the opportunity lost. Hence, the importance of Plan B and Plan C. Uh, and last was something which I think most of the panelists did speak about, and I sort of personal experience realized that people are able to overcome their personal grief, and they are able to lend themselves to a larger purpose. Mr. Garg spoke about that too, especially in healthcare organizations. So it's important that we give our employees purpose, yeah, a meaningful purpose, which is much beyond the goal sheets. And sometimes the outcomes are very, very surprising. So these were the few learnings, Sakshi, I sort of had. And then, of course, that led to us to some of the best practices which I personally saw, of course, and Antara, which we could implement, and few, of course, which we saw and experienced around. Yeah. What was around, and the questioning, answering your question, Sakshi, on the succession planning, was the whole contingency planning for leadership role, right? So our first wave experience taught us, a few of the leadership team members got impacted and got out of the business for a couple of days. So we were better prepared in the second wave. Most of our leadership member had to nominate another senior person in the team, and not in the same department, but in the other function, who can then be inducted and can sort of head the function in terms of, if at all the need arises. And it was just not heading the function, very clearly saying that who can take financial decisions, who can take functional decisions, who can take process-led decisions, who can take residence decisions, right? So I guess one of the good practice which I saw and sort of really used was a contingency planning at leadership roles, and could be very well replicated. And this is the whole supervisory-led experience I could have, would very well replicated at the supervisory and the task force level too. The second learning or the best practice, Sakshi, was pivot soon and fail fast, right? 2 weeks in wave one, we realized that few things have to change. We were a mix of, at that point of time in our juncture, creating a facility for our seniors in somewhere in NCR, and we realized that if we are not able to digitally engage with our customers, we may lose this time period of saying, also how do we do? If you don't see the product, you don't buy the product. And we realized that very soon we can change our engagement with our customers digitally. We also realized that few of the traditional channels of acquisitions, client acquisition, has to be challenged and changed, right? So few of those decisions started to happen, and it did help us in first wave to take the business ahead. And we are very certain by these decisions, few of these decisions or these changes would help us in the second wave too. However, with the same furor, I would like to say that not all the suggestions and not all the changes in the strategy, does work. So it's equally important to fail fast. If a solution on the table doesn't work it's good to sort of let go of the solution rather than sort of belaboring the point because we've thought of it in first place. Uh, uh, the third thing, which I think most of the panelists just speak about, was changing the policies, and Dr. Ankita very well spoke about it. The deal about this whole changes in the communication or changes. So how do we engage with our employees? Is the time is of essence, and the words chosen is of essence, right? So even us as an organization, we did have some few quick changes in the policy enabling our front lines. We had special leaves for COVID. We had special covers for COVID, which would, cover also the OPDs. we had isolation packages, created a crack team. Mr. Raghu spoke about how we could help families with hospitals, oxygens, home cooked food, everything. But this whole aspect really was important, because how well and when did we announce it? And I think our employees need to hear it and need to be told that we care, and we really do. So the word chosen, that who's communicating it, is the timing right or not, are the words led by action, all of that is important. And I think this goes a long way in creating bouncing back. We heard that today in the day, bouncing back and creating that safe workforce. And last, really, again,
close.
That's really, last point, Gaurav, and I'll quickly start then. The last point really is not to prioritize business outcomes over team safety and lives, right? We heard the word empathy. Mr. Raghu spoke about that. Empathy and employees are most important things. Most of the boards, most of the investors have heard companies going back to them to ask them recast their plans, recast their projections, revise their guidance. All of that, is a reality, and hence it's important for the businesses to now rethink about their business plans in the wake of current reality, and not to prioritize business and its outcome over the team safeties and their lives. So these are the few learnings and best practices, Sakshi, I could think about and share with the larger audience today and panel. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Ambika. And I think we have only 5-6 minutes left.